So you're probably wondering what today's subject will be. To explain the context, many years ago I did a series of rants on video games, which, spoilers, were terrible. Except maybe the one I did on Castlevania, but the others were complete garbage. Why? Because they were full of nitpicks, and because I took a lot of inspiration from a reviewer named Alexander4488, also known as the Game Dude, who got a lot of hate for being an angry video game nerd ripoff. One of those reviews I did was on the game Kingdom Hearts Recoded, which was one that I was mocked the most for. But I'm not here to cover that one. I'm here to cover a commentary that was done on it pretty recently by a user named Robert628. I don't really mind him commentating an old video. As a matter of fact, I just finished doing one last year. But his video is still flawed. Now, like I've said in some of my previous times commentating on commentaries on myself, I'm not doing this to defend myself. I'm doing this because Robert's video is flawed. And to those who don't believe me, I'll also make some counterpoints towards myself so people don't have to accuse me of getting butthurt over criticism. Here we go.
Hello everyone, Robert628 here, and welcome to another commentary. So, who is today's victim this time? Well, it's none other than Meta527II's. As you know, this guy is a YouTuber who makes various videos on countdowns, reviews, and much, much more. And which one of his videos are we going to do today?
I cannot believe how many times I've had to make this point, but stuttering like this can easily be edited out.
A little later.
Anyways, let's get started.
I may have not played every single Kingdom Hearts game.
And for those of you who haven't already guessed, yep, he's recording footage off his iPad. So because of that, the video and audio quality are really, really bad. Now, I'll admit, as far as having to record off your screen quality goes, this is actually kind of creative with how he's using his avatar pictures in one tab and the video he's covering in the other, and having them both on screen at the same time, but it's still unprofessional. So just to make this video easier for you guys to watch, I'm going to splice in my original video, and when Robert is talking, I'm going to look for the pictures of Ike that he's using and put them up.
I can safely say I love the Kingdom Hearts franchise. Even though I have only played 5 of the Kingdom Hearts games, I loved all 5 of the Kingdom Hearts games I have played.
Wait, so you're saying you've only played 5 of the Kingdom Hearts games before you made this video?
Why yes, I've only played 5 of them at the time, because back then there were only 6 Kingdom Hearts games. So don't give me that only 5 stuff when literally the only one I hadn't played at the time, not counting remakes, was Birth by Sleep. And even if there were more Kingdom Hearts games, would that really be a big deal?
And you don't even elaborate on which ones you've played? Why?
I showed which games I played in the footage I was showing. Look, the footage was of the original Kingdom Hearts, Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts 2, and 358 over 2 days. So what about the 5th one that I had played? Well, that's literally the game that the rant is dedicated to, so I think it would have been obvious which ones I had played.
Except for one. Kingdom Hearts Recoded.
Okay, there are major problems with that. First, you're just using a random PNG of the game's logo.
And why is that a problem?
Do you think it was really necessary to say Kingdom Hearts Recoded? You have the ability to talk like a normal human being, so what's the problem here?
The problem is that you're taking an obvious joke too literally. I was making that Kingdom Hearts Recoded comment as a way to make fun of the game. I mean, granted, maybe it was more immature than funny, but it was still a joke nonetheless, and you're taking it too seriously.
I wanted a completely new game, not an expansion pack to the original Kingdom Hearts.
Well, okay. So you're saying you wanted a new game, not an expansion pack? Well, shouldn't your sentence be, I wanted a completely new game, but not an expansion pack to the original Kingdom Hearts?
Why exactly does it matter? Don't both of those sentences mean the same thing?
Maybe it's not an expansion pack. It's like a D-expansion pack. It's like the original Kingdom Hearts done wrong.
Okay, this game is not a remake of the original Kingdom Hearts. It's actually a remake of a mobile game called Kingdom Hearts Coded, which was released in Japan back in 2008.
I know it's not a remake of the original Kingdom Hearts. What I was getting at is that it's basically a glorified remake of it. The fact that you go through some of the same levels with almost the exact same layouts and even fight the same bosses.
A few moments later.
You can't even play as the real Sora. Instead, you play as this big phony named Data Sora.
Data Sora is not really his actual name. He's still called Sora in the game, name, but he got that nickname because he entered a data world in which his data got copied and formed into this guy.
Even if he's still called Sora, it's still not the real Sora, it's a clone. A much better point you could have brought up is that I was making a big deal over nothing, since this Sora still basically acts and plays out like the real Sora.
Just look at this.
I don't see anything.
Of course you don't, the screen you're recording off is too bright. Okay, seriously though, by look at this, I was referring to the dialogue that was being shown on the screen.
No, he didn't save the island. I've played the original Kingdom Hearts, and since this game acts like an expansion pack to the original, you must not have saved the island. You only destroyed the monster that was destroying the island, but it was going to be destroyed anyways.
What they meant by he fixed the island was that he got rid of all the bug blocks that were infecting the world. Because in this game, your adventures happen inside the journal's data, which is chronicling what happened during the real Sora's adventures. But the data was corrupted with bug blocks, which is what Data Sora is here to fix.
Now instead of hand in hand, Knight of Fate plays in Traverse Town. It plays at both Destiny Islands and Traverse Town, but hand in hand isn't in the game at all.
Yeah, because of memory limitations and how they couldn't put those songs in the game.
They were able to handle having the world things in Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, and that game had just as many worlds as Recoded did, assuming you include the data world. So if 358 over 2 days was able to include all those songs, so should Recoded. Also, those songs? Don't you mean that song? I only talked about one song being cut.
1 minute later.
Besides, even in Chain of Memories, Hand of Hand played in Traverse Town when you first entered.
And it also returned in Smash Bros. Ultimate when Sora finally came as his victory theme.
What does that have to do with the rest of the commentary? You're literally just bringing up a fun fact about the song that doesn't refute my point in any way.
Oh darn, I meant to put that towel somewhere else. You can't remove a new towel without replacing it.
Well, at least you have blink chips which fill in spots and can also be used as replacing something that you forgot to mess up.
Forgot to mess up? You mean that I did mess up? And even if you do get blank chips, there's a limited amount to how many you have, which is fair, but it's still annoying that they can't be removed without being replaced.
You could in 350 over 2 days. Why not now?
I'm not really sure why.
And I'm not really sure why you felt the need to basically stop the video to agree with me.
There are also no new worlds in this game, except for those data worlds, which are nothing but an excuse to make this game look good.
Well, I seem to remember in your least favorite video games that you actually like the data worlds because they're nice and they actually serve a purpose. But before that, you're saying they're bad?
Notice the upload dates of both my Recoded rant and my least favorite games list. Notice that my least favorite games list was uploaded nearly 2 whole years after my Recoded rant. So maybe my opinion on them has changed since then. Opinions tend to do that in the span of years. And besides, that still doesn't debunk my point about how there are no new worlds in the game aside from those ones.
Later.
Bug blocks seem nice, except for the danger ones and the metal ones. The danger ones give you damage if you touch them with anything that's not your Keyblade, and a lot of times you have to get past them. The metal blocks are also irritating because you can't break them.
This was another really stupid thing of me to say in my rant. The danger ones, I might have been onto something there when bringing up how you have to get past them, but the metal ones were intended to make the game work better. It's like the unbreakable box in the Crash Bandicoot games. I might as well have complained about those too. I should have brought up how the Black Spider versions were the annoying ones.
Song Vim and Vigor plays in almost every boss battle in the game, and while I do love that song, it's getting overused throughout the franchise.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be the main boss theme of the games.
That's not the point. The point is that I felt the song was overused throughout the franchise, especially since there are plenty of other boss themes in the Kingdom Hearts series they could have used. Squirming Evil, Desire for All That Is Lost, The Fight for My Friends, The Encounter, I could go on.
I just love how Sora walks in the sand without even leaving footprints.
This is another thing I noticed in your video game rants. You take way too much inspiration from Game Dude, one of the most hated reviewers on the internet. So, why are you doing it all of a sudden?
As much as I agree with you on that point, there are a lot of people in the commentary community who don't know who Game Dude is, since he stopped being relevant in the early 2010s. So when you say that I took too much inspiration from Game Dude without saying how what I said was similar to Game Dude, people won't get the context. I'll explain the context because I was nitpicking too much.
12 seconds later.
Now in the desert, there's a time freeze mission where you have to find the lamp before time runs out. Breaking boxes or defeating enemies that won't even attack you will drop time extensions, but they'll only add like a few seconds onto your time, but they take 5 seconds to break or defeat, so most of the time they're not worth it. Even worse, it's nearly impossible to find the lamp because it keeps being moved.
Yeah, the lamp is hard to find because it keeps being moved. I can understand that, but it's supposed to make it a challenge.
Even if it is supposed to be a challenge, I clearly found it too cheap of a challenge. Especially since, as brought up, when breaking the boxes to get more time, you end up using more time than the amount you get back.
So after this level, next we're going into the whale, right?
One thing I've noticed during that segment is that you have the game's audio muted, and you don't explain why. So, can you tell us that?
The audio was not muted. This is a segment of the game that has no music. In fact, I'll even show gameplay footage without any commentary over it. See? Notice how there's no music in it. See, I didn't mute the game. Heck, there are even sound effects in the part of the video I played, which I'm guessing you didn't hear. Anyways, that's the end of his part 1. Yeah, this is a multi-parter, in 2023. Though he did explain his reasons for it, because he doesn't want to make his videos too long, so he can have more spare time, and because he wanted to leave his viewers in suspense. I'm not sure I can call all 3 of those good enough reasons, but I guess that maybe I'll let it slide. Anyways, on to part 2.
1 week later.
So, are we going inside the whale now?
You know, when we can clearly see the caption saying wrong at the end of the last part, it kinda takes away from the suspense you're trying to build up to, so people would already know if we're going inside Monster or not.
Wrong! Instead, you go right to Hollow Bastion. They skip the whale, Halloween Town, the ocean, and the pirate ship. I love those levels, and they removed them. Now that sounds bad, right? No, actually it's a good thing. Why? They probably would have made those worlds look bad anyways.
Yeah, it kind of does sound bad. And first, you're saying they're bad, but now they're good?
I did that to subvert expectations and make it sound like a complaint, only for it to turn out to be a backhanded compliment. I never actually said it was a bad thing, even though what I said sounded like it would imply it. It was kinda supposed to be a joke.
Later.
Why the heck would they put something like this in the Kingdom Hearts game? I don't hate games for being different from the classics. I mean, Kirby's Epic Yarn and Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia are good.
Like I said in my commentary on my Guardian Signs rant, that footage of Shadows of Almia that I got was way too choppy. So needless to say, it looks very, very unprofessional. It would have been much better if I got better footage of it.
How is Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia different from the Ranger series? I know it has a few differences, unless you're talking about it being different from the main series Pokemon games.
That's exactly what I meant. I was talking about it being different from the main Pokemon series. Though, to be fair, it wasn't very smart of me to bring up a spin-off as to how a game is different from the classics.
Moments later.
The song is heroic and it's pretty awesome, but it plays right when you're about to go inside Riku, making the song seem completely ridiculous.
No, it's supposed to make the moment epic.
Again with misinterpreting what I was trying to say. I wasn't saying that making the moment ridiculous was their intention when playing the song there. I was saying that their usage of this song is hard to take seriously because of how stupid the scene is. How are you messing up this badly when commentating on one of the worst videos I've ever made?
Why is there a Moogle inside Riku?
So that you can restock on items.
That's not the point. I was talking about how disturbing the thought of Data Riku having a Moogle inside him is. Heck, my very next sentence I was saying should be proof enough of what I'm getting at. Though, to be fair, that sentence was still not a very smart sentence, but I'll get to that right now.
Is Riku a cannibal?
A human can't be a cannibal for eating a Moogle. The Moogle would have to be human, or at least human enough, in order for Data Riku to be considered a cannibal for eating it. I still think it's disturbing, but my point still stands.
Well, no, that's not true, because according to the internet, this isn't the real Riku.
According to the internet, the game itself revealed earlier that this wasn't actually Riku.
Riku? Not quite. Much like Sora there. I'm just zeros and ones that look like somebody you know.
1 minute later.
When you're inside this fake Riku, you would have to go through the past worlds and solve the data worlds again. And that wouldn't be half bad if the data worlds weren't such a waste of programming, or if they weren't way too pixelated, or if you weren't doing it inside this fake Riku. Besides, it'll also bring back all the terrible memories of the game.
Don't you dare go there, Meta.
Go where? What are you even calling me out for? Not only are you not telling me why what I said was bad, but you're also not even telling me what I even said that was bad. I mean, with your other counterpoints, I could understand what you were trying to say, but now you're literally just saying that something in what I said is bad without even explaining it.
When you're done, you have to escape from Data Riku or you'll be trapped inside him forever. That would have been an awesome escape mission if it weren't so gross. I love escape missions, especially the Metroid games.
Unnecessary sentence.
How exactly? How is it unnecessary? I was just saying that I ordinarily love escape missions, but this is an exception. And look at it this way, it was at least more necessary than your point about hand-in-hand getting into Smash Ultimate.
10 seconds later.
Look, a moving Black Snake platform. Where have I seen that before? Super Mario World? Kingdom Hearts Recoded stole the black platform from Super Mario World.
I mean, they're similar, but not identical.
How are they not identical? Couldn't you at least elaborate on the differences?
Unlike in Super Mario World, it's bad because it goes way too slow. Only like 1/4 times as fast as it was in Super Mario World. And when the platform curves to go down, if you're on the front of the platform, you'll fall off.
Well, duh, that happens.
What's your point?
Soon after.
Then you'll watch this cutscene. Wait, what part's not in the journal will always be inside him? Now he's eating journal pages too?
What are you even talking about?
I think it's kind of self-explanatory where I got my logic from, even if it was stupid logic. Since the journal data is inside him, that's why I assumed that he ate it. Back then, I didn't know that Data Riku was actually Jiminy's journal taking on human form.
What an image to get into my head. The song that plays in the background during this cutscene was great, but now it's just decent. The reason why it's average instead of great is because now it reminds me of that nauseating thought of all that information being inside him.
This is starting to make zero sense at all.
Okay, let me explain to you what I meant by that. I was saying that I love that song, but after hearing it in this scene that I claimed was disgusting, that practically ruined the song for me and made it going from being awesome to just plain average. A better point you could have brought up is that I shouldn't let one faulty usage of that song ruin my overall enjoyment of it.
2 very boring minutes later.
Well, that must have been the final boss, huh? Well, at least I beat the game. Good thing, too. I was getting sick and tired of that game anyways.
Or is it? Well, that concludes my second commentary. Or was it?
Just saying, or is it? This short of a time after saying it the first time honestly makes you sound kinda redundant. Otherwise, that wasn't really a bad outro for this part. Anyways, at long last, we're finally entering the third and final part.
1 week later.
Guys, big news. A new world has shown up inside the journal.
Wait. What did he just say?
I think I heard him say something about a new world inside a journal.
I heard him. I was just saying that to be dramatic. A lot of people have said, what did he just say? In response to hearing something that they don't want to hear. Just like with the King Dump Farts Recoded point back in part 1, you're taking what I said too literally.
1 minute later.
One more world. One more disgrace of a world. This is one of the worst worlds in the entire game.
Can you even explain why it's the worst world in the game?
Okay, first of all, I said that it's one of the worst worlds in the game. Not that it's the worst world in the game. I think you need to see an ear doctor. Second of all, I literally explained the reasons almost instantly after you stopped the video to tell me to explain.
It's basically a rehash of the past worlds. I don't normally mind rehashes of past worlds. I mean, Brawl and Wind Waker did okay. I could have sworn we already went through a rehash of the past worlds when we were inside Data Riku.
Well, when you were inside Data Riku, you explored the actual worlds. Well, here you explored areas based off the original worlds.
I get what you're trying to say, but even if they are more so based off these worlds and actually going back to these respective worlds, it's still basically a rehash of what you did throughout the game, which we had already gone through an hour earlier. So yeah, it's still resorting to padding out the game by doing 2 rehashes of past worlds, even if they are done differently.
10 seconds later.
The music is nice. If you remember it from Chain of Memories, it keeps looping and almost never changes. It'll give you a big headache.
Well, I mean, it's supposed to be intense, but I think you're kind of overreacting there.
Even if it is supposed to be intense, that doesn't change the fact that I personally found it repetitive. Just because it's supposed to be intense, doesn't mean it is intense. It's like if you hear a bad comedian telling jokes. His jokes are supposed to be funny, but they aren't. Get the picture?
Now, let's put it this way. Have you seen Peanut 3 for 23's worst video game cliches list?
Yes, I have seen Alex Rotron's video game cliches list. And besides, wasn't that the first commentary you ever did?
Yes, but what does this debunk? This literally contributes nothing to your commentary.
There's one part of it you should listen to.
I'm sure by now you all know how much I love final boss battles and how I especially love the build-up to some of these battles.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the final bosses are great.
Even ignoring the fact that there's really no point to make counterpoints towards clips people are using, that's another instance of you just stopping the video to agree with the uploader.
3:28 a.m.
The game also tries to hide who he is. If you're a big enough Kingdom Hearts fan, it should be blatantly obvious by his 2 keyblades and his boss theme who he is.
Well, you just said who it was a minute ago.
Once again, how does that debunk my point? I mean, at least this time you're actually attempting to refute my argument, but how exactly does the fact that I addressed him by name prove me wrong about how obvious that is that that's Roxas? If anything, it just further proves my point about how obvious it is.
Moments later.
That was my favorite part of the song and they removed it. Why? Why did they remove it? I love that part so much.
Well, maybe because they want you to be sorry for Roxas.
Darn it, Robert, you just had to follow that actually good point up with another stupid point. How would removing a dramatic part of a song be an attempt at making us feel sorry for Roxas?
Moments later.
I know that I made it clear on my disappointing final boss list that I thought Riku ever.
Hey Robert, this is another reason as to why just recording your iPad screen isn't a very good idea. Because sometimes we can barely hear the original points that I was trying to make. And even if you can't record videos any other way, the least you could do is at least turn up the volume of your iPad.
But that was before I faced Roxas. Riku from 350 over 2 days may have been disappointing, but at least he was an okay final boss, considering the nice music. Roxas, on the other hand, is a terrible final boss.
Maybe that's why you should have waited to make your disappointing final bosses.
I had no way of knowing that I would find Data Roxas' fight even more disappointing than Data Riku's fight. So you're basically getting on my case for not being able to see the future. If I just waited for every game to come out in the off chance that it might have a small chance of having an entry that qualifies for the list, then I might as well not do countdowns at all until I stop playing video games for good. Now do you see how dumb of an argument that is?
So I do feel bad, just for the wrong reasons. Overall, this game's horrible. The camera's bad, story feels like a bad remake of the original Kingdom Hearts, and it ruins the song The Other Promise.
I know you're really trying to repeat yourself in this review, it seems like.
Not that that was a bad point, but I just feel like I should give an explanation as to why I did that. The reason I did that is because in the rant I did before this one, which was on Diddy Kong Racing DS, Death Critic commentated on it, and in the end, he got on my case for not elaborating at all why it was horrible. Though to be fair, Death Critic was a brainless moron, so I shouldn't have listened to him at that point, especially since I had literally spent the entire rant talking about why I hated Diddy Kong Racing DS. But yeah, now you know why I just repeated those points there. Again, not saying your point was wrong, just giving you an answer to your question.
This is the worst game I've ever played. Did they even think that anyone would like this game?
Well, why was it only number 3 on your least favorite video games?
Again, because opinions change over time. And also because when we talk about the games that were in the top 2, Game & Watch Gallery 4 was a game that I didn't realize I hated yet, and the number 1 entry, Final Fantasy III for the DS, was a game I hadn't played yet at the time, so I didn't realize that I'd hate those games more than I hate this one back then.
12 seconds later.
The entire universe would be so much better without this game.
No, it won't.
I'll admit, I was being overdramatic in my point about how the universe would be so much better without it, but that "no it won't" point was just dumb. You don't even explain how it won't, you just say "no it won't." I'd expect this kind of point from fanboys who can't come up with good defensive arguments for the game they fanboy over. I'm not saying you're a fanboy, just saying that that point sounds like one that a fanboy would make.
More moments later.
But even so, I have high expectations for the Kingdom Hearts 3DS game.
I haven't played Dream Drop Distance, but I've seen Kobanami456's Let's Play of the game.
I bet it'll be a million times better.
Plus, wasn't Dream Drop Distance number 5 on your games you played in 2012 list?
Yet even more pointless statements that contribute nothing to your commentary. You know how you called a couple points of my rant pointless? Well, I could say that about some of your points in this commentary.
This is Meta527II, and I'll leave you with this slide. Do not buy Kingdom Hearts Recoded.
What did you even say there? How are you supposed to recommend this game to the Kingdom Hearts fans?
Who said I wanted to recommend it to Kingdom Hearts fans? If I clearly hate this game, I don't think it would be that much of a guess to say that I wouldn't recommend it. If anything, there was a much better point you could have made here, that last line for me made me sound like a complete brat who can't respect the opinions of other people.
Well, that finally concludes my second ever commentary. My next commentary will hopefully be a lot better.
I hope so too, because this commentary we just saw from you was just embarrassing. But then again, considering what we saw from this one, I'm not getting my hopes up. It doesn't really paint a good picture of you as a commentator when you mess up a commentary this badly, especially when you're commentating on another bad video. I'm not trying to defend my rant, but your commentary was also completely flawed from beginning to end. When you weren't just adding pointless information that doesn't contribute anything to the commentary, you were calling out minor things that aren't that big a deal, and you were completely missing what I was trying to say. And in addition to that, there are even a few instances where you just stopped the video to agree with me. I thought the commentary community stopped doing that all the way back in 2011. I'll admit, you did bring up a few good points, but those were few and far between. Now, I apologize for not finding the right Ike avatar pictures he used in some of these, but whenever I asked him where he got them, he never responded, so I had to leave the original footage for that. Oh boy, have I got a lot to say about this one. So anyways, guys, remember Rowan Akemi 185? The guy who was notorious among the commentary community for making bad commentaries? Well, it turns out that he's made other kinds of videos too. One of those kinds of videos being YouTube poops. Now, at first, I thought they were enjoyable enough. Not something I'd compare to the works of YouTube poopers with crazy editing skills like Hour of Poop and Huffy 1138, but I still enjoyed them, at least until the biggest problem with them started to become much, much more obvious as time went on. And by the time this one shot is over, you guys will notice it too. Alright, let's get into it. I'm going to play some parts of his most recent YouTube poop, and then I'll get into my point.
Cody, look over there! Shut your mouth.
Dad, am I adopted?
Apparently.
All you're doing is helping him prove his point.
Do you think it's okay?
Do you guys see the problem here? No, it's not the fact that he plays clips from random videos that's the issue. At least it's not just that. I'm going to give you a short montage of clips from his other YouTube poops, and then you guys should see the problem.
We have to find a way to distract him so we can get out of the Raccoon City.
Okay, well, I am taking the stupid briefcase back to
Raccoon City.
Because I'm supposed to go to
Raccoon City. I mean actual real whales in the Raccoon City.
Oh, I got my nacho hat, my baby rattle from a damn kitty milk.
Raccoon City.
Well, I was young and stupid. I'm a changed man.
Shut your mouth.
Look at it. Look at it.
Shut your mouth. I'm not letting you launch a nuke. Shut your mouth.
I'm really bad at pool. Bet me some money.
Shut your mouth. He thinks we're in the wall?
What?
Apparently.
All you're doing is helping him prove his point.
Are you sure you're the boss?
Apparently.
All you're doing is helping him prove his point.
Apparently.
All you're doing is helping him prove his point.
Was it my mom?
He fucking cheated! No!
blue.
Oh, so he doesn't need a new brain?
I think he likes it.
Liar.
So nobody will ever find them.
Liar.
We're geniuses, guys.
Liar.
Whales are awesome!
Liar.
Bubba Bubba's the best gum in the world.
Liar. Did you guys notice it? That's right! He's just using the exact same clips over and over again. This will make it very easy for people to grow bored of your YouTube poops, and they'll just leave before they're even finished watching them. I think Murbrose Studios put it best.
This usually comes off as a lack of effort and a lack of creativity. And don't use the same jokes and quotes in every video. It's like watching the same poop with different video footage. Variety, people!
It's especially bad with how you've constantly abused that clip of me saying liar so many times that I honestly regret ever recording that line. I am not kidding. These clips are getting really annoying, and I can almost guarantee that if more people knew about your YouTube poops, they'd be saying the same thing that I'm saying. And it's not helped by some of these clips you overuse go on for longer than needed.
O-B-O-O-H-O-O. Well done, you can S-P-E-L-L, and guess what? You're a D-U-M-B-A-S-S. I know, I got that joke from Realm Wars, please don't sue!
I mean, the longer clips were okay the first few times, but when you keep using them this much, many people will see them less as funny, and more of an excuse to drag out the video. I'll admit, it is kinda nice seeing you use clips that you haven't used before, but you rarely ever do that nowadays. Literally, the only reason I even stick around to watch your YouTube poops is because I'm interested to see what new clips you're going to use, and even then, I'm still questioning why I watch them. I don't mind you cutting to clips from random videos in your YouTube poops, and I'm even okay with you using clips from my videos. Just as long as you're not using the same one for like the 10,000th time. Seriously, even when I was skimming through your YouTube poops looking for clips to prove my point, even when I had the videos on 2x speed and had the videos on mute, I still cringed through them. I don't mean to be harsh in this video, and I'm not saying you should give up on YouTube poops altogether, but there's a certain term called variety. Learn how to use it. Oh, and P.S. Don't take this one shot as a shout out to you and let this encourage you to keep making the same mistakes over and over again. Since I read the description of one of your previous YouTube poops, where you thought I briefly mentioned your YouTube poops on SML videos and that one time in one of my previous Q&As and thought, oh, I guess that means I should make all of my my YouTube poops on SML's videos because that'll get more people to make shoutouts to me. Because, no, it didn't work then, and it won't work this time. Okay, so this would have been my third commentary back when I started out, but the video downloader I was using at the time was being stupid. But I found much better ways to get footage since then, so this time it will be a lot easier to get the footage for this commentary. And this is going to be a commentary on Alex Rochon and Josh Scorcher's list of their top 15 most hated video game characters. I know what some of you are probably going to ask me right now, why the heck am I doing a commentary on a video that's 13 years old by the time I'm making this video? Simple. Because I've heard some of the other commentators say that it's okay to do a commentary on an old video because it can be used as a way to show your audience what not to do when making a video, and that it's okay just as long as you don't act like the original uploaders still stand by what they said. So that opens the floodgates for videos that I can do commentaries on now, assuming that you guys don't get mad at me for it. And if you guys see that as an excuse, then please forgive me. I'm only doing what I was told was okay. And also, some of their choices will be entries that they're putting on the list for being frustrating bosses or villains who do their job as villains. I will not call them out for that, because this was understandable back when their list was made. So without further ado, let's get past the 45-second long intro and start the video.
Alright, me and Josh Scorcher are back.
Sorry to come off as a grammar Nazi, but don't you mean Josh Scorcher and I are back?
Video games.
Right now you might be thinking, hey, haven't both of you made countdowns about characters you hate? Well, we both realized that there were a few very good choices that we overlooked on both our original lists. Not to mention there's a few from games we didn't play when we made our last lists.
Oh, really? I never would have guessed considering how both of you have done remakes of some of your older lists before, including your last collab. Speaking of which, I have no idea why the heck you changed the thumbnail of part 2 of your Disturbing Bosses remake to something that isn't even a video game boss, other than being a clip from a movie that was shown at one point of the video.
A few minutes later.
Perhaps the worst part about her is that for how much of a total she is.
I have no idea what you're trying to say there. I mean, I have no problem with you censoring swears, but you've usually made it obvious what you're trying to say, while here on the other hand, it's extremely unclear what you're trying to say.
12 seconds later.
Tell me when this sounds familiar. I f***ing hate this guy. Yep, it's Blue. And I still do hate him. This guy is just a complete prick. He always takes the Pokemon that's better than yours.
Not everyone has played Pokemon, so they won't understand what you mean by always takes the Pokemon that's better than yours. I know what you mean. He always takes the Pokemon that has a type advantage against yours. If he said that, then non-Pokemon fans would understand you better. But because you don't, people who don't play Pokemon are going to be confused by what you said.
He becomes the champion under your nose, and he constantly spews the most annoying one-liners ever.
As far as hated characters go, Blue isn't exactly evil like some of the later characters on this list. He's annoying, yes, yet he's pretty harmless otherwise. Still, if anyone ever says, "Smell you later," to me...
This part always bothered me. Josh actively sounds like he's defending Blue in his part of the entry. I mean, I understand you want to talk about what keeps Blue from being any higher, but even when you do show anger towards Blue, it just makes you sound like you're only mildly annoyed by him. This is supposed to be a list of entries that you both agree on, so this could give off the impression that you don't agree that he should be on here. I know you've talked about just a few months prior in your favorite Pokemon songs list, that one of the reasons you love the final boss theme from Gen 1 is because you finally get to punish this annoying grandpa's boy, and I don't know if your opinion has changed since then. But if it didn't, then make it sound like you legitimately do hate him, instead of making it sound like forced anger.
The good part about Blue is, you can name him anything you want.
Wanna know another reason why I'm not a huge Halo fan?
Jeez, I'll never guess considering how you're talking about 343 Guilty Spark on the original version of your hated characters list. Which, unfortunately, I can't show because he deleted the video. Just try to bear with me, okay?
A few moments later.
I can't believe I forgot this thing on my original list.
Oh, don't feel bad. It only appeared in 2 small points of the game, so I don't think I can really blame you for forgetting to include him.
Smacking you in the face as hard as a person falling off a racetrack. The races with this androgynous beetle thing are punishingly difficult and far from fun.
What does him being androgynous have anything to do with it? I'm sorry if that comes off as a nitpick, but my point still stands. It just feels like you only brought that up because you just desperately wanted an excuse to call him androgynous. And if so, then that just felt extremely forced.
A little later.
How do I hate thee, Trevelyan? Let me count the ways. Thou art a coward. Thou wilt never shut up.
How about thou art not a video game character, he's a movie character. Just because he happened to appear in a licensed-based game doesn't mean that he qualifies for the list. That's like if I were to put the Queen of Hearts on a hated video game characters list and proclaim that she qualifies for it because she appeared in Kingdom Hearts. Now I would get on your case for repeating the same reasons why you hate this guy that you brought up in some of your other lists, but I can relate to that since I've done the same thing. But you wouldn't have a reason to make us hear you talking about him again in this list if you understood the fact that he's not a video game character.
Soon after.
There's a lesson to be learned from Shadow of the Colossus. If your ceiling talks to you, don't talk back. It's likely the embodiment of pure evil talking.
Does that include...
Squidward, your ceiling is talking to me!
Gosh, I've always wanted to do that, this part.
The demon in question, known as Dormant, promises to resurrect a girl if all the 16 Colossi are killed. And Wander, out of desperation and love, trusts the scary-sounding demon.
To Dorman's credit, it did say to Wander that there would be a price to pay for killing these beasts. But does that mean it's right to have the spirit of Dorman possess Wander and have him killed right in front of the girl, who is still dead? Not to mention, when Lord Emon seals away the new Dorman/Wander hybrid, all that's left of Wander is a horned baby.
Didn't you just say that Wander was killed and now you're showing him still alive except as a baby? By saying that, you're going to confuse people who haven't played Shadow of the Colossus. You could have at least said that Wander wasn't necessarily killed, or Wander does get revived, just as a horned baby. That will save a lot of confusion for your audience. Anyways, that's the end of part 1. I'm surprised that so far I am already near the end of the third page of my script because this part was overall flawed, but not too bad. The second part, however, is where the countdown starts to go downhill. Alright, let's get this over with.
Later.
All of what Porky has done is just pure evil. He is truly the ultimate fat bastard.
Worst way to censor something ever. It's not as hard to make out as the one in the Lark Scene entry, but the timing is much, much worse, to the point of it being just plain cringe-inducing.
Later.
Extremely predictable move coming in at 3, 2, 1.
Nah, we're giving him a break this time.
Oh my gosh! I totally didn't see that coming by how overly convenient it was that you just played a clip of him without saying anything. Or the fact that Josh Scorcher admitted that he thought Sephiroth was pretty awesome in his Final Fantasy villains list.
Sephiroth may be overrated, but come on. Even I can't deny that he is incredibly awesome.
Or the fact that you literally pulled that exact same fake out a year earlier in your overrated characters list. Which, unfortunately, I couldn't show that either, since, like with his original hated characters list, he deleted that too. Not that I blame him, that list was garbage, but seriously, Josh, how stupid do you think we are? Though to be fair, at least this fake-out's not as obvious as the Aerith fake-outs on their Saddest Moments collab, where it's so obvious of a fake-out, where they felt the need to do it twice, making it so obvious of a fake-out that it actually felt like they think we're stupid. Anyways, the real entry turns out to be Titus, and I have nothing to say about it, so let's skip to the number 3 entry.
Moments later.
Oh, Tingle. As much as I hate your creepy, cheapskate guts, I've got to admit one thing. Your chant is pretty awesome. Besides, at least Tingle was sort of mandatory to completing Wind Waker. In the end, he was trying to help Link.
Yeah, but where exactly did the game state that helping Link was Tingle's intention? I mean, sure, he did help you decipher the Triforce charts, but how do you know that it was his main intention? One could easily interpret that as Tingle only helping us so that he could strip us of more rupees needed to decipher the Triforce charts. So how do you know that he actually did want to help us? I'm not saying he didn't, but we don't know for sure what the case is.
Albeit in his strange, probably child molester way. At least he does a better job at trying to help Link than freaking Kepura Gebura.
This thing is not needed at all in Ocarina of Time. Do we really need an annoying owl to tell us overlong speeches about things that we already know?
What are you talking about? Where the heck did you get things we already know? I mean, yeah, his speeches are extremely annoying, but I can find plenty of times where he tells you about stuff you didn't already know. Let me give you 3 examples. Like when you have to get serious song, where he tells you that you need to follow the music to help you find your way through the woods. Which, true, you'd probably have figured it out by then if you went through the normal entrance, but if you went through the Death Mountain entrance, you likely wouldn't have noticed. Or how about this one? When you first reach Hyrule Castle grounds and he tells you that time stands still when you're in towns and dungeons, but it flows normally when you're on the overworld. I don't remember ever being told that prior to seeing him there. Or much later in the game, where he tells you that you beat Twin Rover by turning their magic against each other, which, funny enough, Josh Kutcher actually addressed in the original version of his easiest bosses list that you were told how to beat them before you actually fight them. And the one you learned that information from is, yep, Capora Gaebora. Now, I hate Capora Gaebora too, but that statement about him only telling you things you already know, that is an outright lie.
No, we do not. Especially when you try to end his speeches, only to have them start all over again. You'll be seeing this guy a good few times on your adventure, which means that you'll be hearing his ramblings over and over and over and over and over and over and
And there's a joke that you literally just reused from the Capora Gaebora entry in your original hated characters list, which I still can show proof of since, again, he deleted it. Last time I bring up a point from a deleted video in this commentary, I promise.
Because of WMG, we can't post any background music for this part, so it looks like you're just gonna have to settle for My Little Pony.
Oh gosh, no, not Brony music, anything but that! Okay, let's be serious. So you can't play WMG music because of copyright, which makes sense, but wouldn't the My Little Pony theme also be strictly copyrighted?
Later.
He goes on to steal your footage, which has you leaping between two hotels 40 stories up and doing him a twist over in helicopter.
Over in helicopter? What great pronunciation skills!
So he becomes a pro instead of you. Then he goes even further beyond your ordinary kind of scum by smashing a tank into a Russian building and blaming it on you. This makes you have to pay $700,000 in damage, and it gets you demoted from a pro, and you're left in Russia for dead.
Yet another instance of confusing people who haven't played the game. Since you said you get demoted from pro after you just told us that he became a pro instead of you, yeah, you understand what I'm saying, right? Now, I did some research and I found out that even after Eric Sparrow became a pro instead of the player still managed to become a pro even in spite of that, but you could have kept your audience from being left in the dark by saying, then, when you finally do become a pro, he does this. Or, I mean, sure, you do eventually become a pro even in spite of that, but my point still stands. Or something like that.
Ironic, man. Him nailing a wiener cart? Get it?
No, I don't get it. Maybe I'd understand why you're including that clip if I played the game, but at least with the other clips you included of characters talking in this list, it was made clear to people who haven't played the games that it was done to prove how hateable they are. While in this one, you're talking about two completely different characters when you didn't mention anything about a wiener cart in this entry, so that suddenly being brought up will once again leave your fans left in the dark.
One debt to society later.
You thought Eric Sparrow had no redeeming qualities. You'd be right, but compared to number 1, Eric Sparrow is tame. Because at least Sparrow didn't have your best friend murdered. At least he didn't pretend to murder your girlfriend, your brother, and a fellow assassin of yours. At least he wasn't one of the most unfair final bosses in gaming history. At least he wasn't Jasper Bat Jr.
And at least he didn't have one of the most overused suspenseful themes playing at the beginning of your entry on him. Also, while that was a good way to build up suspense for people who haven't played the game, it'll be extremely obvious for people who have played it.
Just then.
But easily the worst part about this guy is the entire 3-phase fight with him. The first form is surprisingly easy, but it'll leave you wondering how you beat it when Jasper's health stops depleting.
If it'll make you wonder how the heck you beat him, then how is it easy? Are you going to elaborate on that? Anyways, after that, they go on to explain how frustrating the rest of the fight is, which I won't refute since, once again, hating a character for having a frustrating boss fight was understandable back in the 2010s. And also, I do think this boss does sound very frustrating from how they're describing it. But there is something that I just cannot excuse. And in case anyone's asking, don't worry, I won't bring up the "it's supposed to teach you a lesson about how revenge isn't satisfying" bogus, because that's not an excuse for bad boss design. What I do have a problem with is the way they choose to end the entry. Everyone, get ready for my personal least favorite part of the video.
1 minute later.
And in the end, when you finally kill Jasper, it's not satisfying at all. He dies with a huge grin on his face. He doesn't even scream in agony. Why not? I hate this guy! He deserves to!
Because he's a parade float in this form. Have you forgotten? I'm sorry, I am just dumbfounded by the fact that you actually expected a parade float to change his facial expression and scream in agony. What do you think this is? Toy Story but with parade floats instead of toys? No, that's not the case. Look, I understand your anger with how you personally didn't find his death satisfying, but why the heck do you not know why a parade float couldn't change his facial expression? And besides, the way you worded that honestly made you sound like an immature kid who didn't get what he wanted. I'm not usually the kind of jerk who uses the, oh well we can't all get what we want in life so we have no right to be mad excuse, but this crosses the line. Being all like, why didn't he scream in agony? I wanted him to! You would have been fine just saying that his death was unsatisfying because of how it was presented, but no. Instead you have to be all like, why did he die the way I wanted him to die? I'm sorry, but this is not how you end off an entry, let alone an entire countdown. Anyways, that's all I have to say for the video. Well, except for the end joke, which I seriously have no idea what the heck it's supposed to be, but whatever. Anyways, even though this video was well praised, if you ask me, looking back on it, it really wasn't a very good video. Out of the 6 collabs that these two did, this is easily what I think is the weakest of the 6. The first half wasn't too bad, but the second half was where they started to lose it. They said things that will end up confusing people who haven't played the games. The Sephiroth fake out was too predictable. The statement about Capra Gabriel telling you things you already know was a flat out lie. And asking why a parade float didn't change his facial expression is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen either of them do, especially with how immature Alex was acting. I still enjoy both of these guys' videos, and like I said towards the beginning, I understand this is a really old video, and I think it's safe to assume that it's disowned by now, but I just hope you guys have a better idea of what not to do when making a countdown. Well, I hope you guys aren't mad at me for covering an old video, but hey, at least it's sure to be better than a certain one-shot I made earlier this year.